2015 meeting of the Daly City Planning Commission. To open the meeting, I'd like to ask everybody to rise and do the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mess me up.
It's okay.
Thank you.
Short version.
The short version. Thank you very much. Could we have a roll call, please?
Tallarico,
Present.
Crump, Satori,
Present.
Sylvester, and Edelman.
Here. First, we would like to approve the minutes for the July 7th, 2015, August 4th, 2015, and September 1st, 2015 meetings. We got a little bit behind on our approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda is a minor subdivision SUB 4-15-10787 and design review DR 4-15-10788. Application by Ping Su to subdivide one lot into 3 lots to be developed with 2 additional homes at 27 and 29 Lausanne Avenue. Staff is Michael Van Lonkhausen, who's the interim planning manager. And we'll start with the presentation from Michael.
Thank you, Commissioner Edelman and the rest of the planning commissioners. This is a application by Ping Su for a minor subdivision and design review at 27 and 29 Lausanne Avenue. The item was continued from the previous planning commission meeting. As indicated in the staff report, the planning commission granted a continuance at the September meeting to give staff and the applicant additional time to work through some of the issues that we were having with this particular proposal. The site location is on the east side of Lausanne Avenue, at the end of Lausanne Avenue, as indicated here. There's an existing cul-de-sac at that location. These photographs provide some insight as to the neighborhood context. This is a neighborhood of single-family detached homes constructed in the early 2000s by the applicant. Essentially, all the existing 10 homes that are there were constructed by the applicant. The subdivision was completed by him at that time. The planning commissioners may note and should take note of the existing cul-de-sac that's shown in this photograph. This is proposed for removal and replacement by a turnaround, and we'll go through the specifics of that proposal in the presentation. But essentially, the 2 houses that are proposed would be constructed in between this home and this home. 2 new houses would be constructed here. The cul-de-sac would go away. The houses, of course, constructed and then replaced by a turnaround. This is the view from the while standing inside the cul-de-sac toward the northwest. The last home is located here. We provided this picture to provide the Planning Commission some idea of where the Wellington Heights, the KB Home subdivision, would connect into this existing subdivision, and it would be approximately here. And we'll show that on the map. So this is another area to take note of. So the proposal is to subdivide one existing 14,438 square foot lot into 3 lots, construct 2 additional single-family residents, one on each of 2 new lots. On a 3rd lot, the last home would be retained and reconstruct the turnaround, as I indicated before. This project does have some background through the years. In 2001, the 10 lots were initially proposed. And at that time, as indicated in the staff report, the applicant dedicated to the city in perpetuity a cul-de-sac with an easement over private property that was incorporated within the cul-de-sac area. The idea at that time was that cars traveling up Lausanne, and large vehicles in particular, would be able to make a full turnaround without having to back up all the way down Lausanne, as the street was narrow, and didn't allow for an easy turnaround for larger vehicles. 2003 construction of that approved subdivision was commenced. And in 2007, the Lot 10 was increased in size to the current 14,300 square foot configuration. In 2013, KB Homes received approval for the Wellington Heights subdivision. As the commissioners may be aware, that subdivision is under construction now and will tie in at its southerly end to this subdivision, as indicated in the photograph that we just reviewed. And in this year, the applicant has proposed removing the cul-de-sac, and as indicated in the staff report, the city staff was not in favor of this, and that was the reason for the recommendation of denial in the previous staff report, because that cul-de-sac was, in essence, allowed large vehicles to turn around. Fire apparatus is able to travel through the Wellington Heights subdivision once approved, so that's less of an issue. But still, larger delivery vehicles, street sweepers, et cetera, need to turn around within this subdivision. And so we recommended a denial of the subdivision when it had the cul-de-sac removed. But since that time, the staff and the applicant have come up with a different configuration. This is the proposed parcel map that the Planning Commission would be acting on. We'll zoom in to the specific lotting pattern. Here are the three parcels that would be created. The two 4,193 square foot, or one 4,193 square foot parcel and one 4,014 square foot parcel. Those two parcels are located here in the yellow. And the larger parcel, 6,231 square foot parcel, where the existing home is located here. So the two new houses would be located on these parcels. There's its lot sizes at the bottom of the screen. Add up to the existing lot total, 14,438 square feet. So this graphic shows the existing site plan using the colors. We're able to show where the existing street surface is, again in the yellow. The red indicates the current traffic pattern. Vehicles enter here, are able to swing all the way around the island and then exit Lausanne moving southbound. These are the existing homes. Again, this is the home on Lot 10. And there's an existing pedestrian sidewalk, which leads persons that access the sidewalk all the way down to a city park. I believe that's Edward Park. I'm not sure of the name of the park, but it's an existing city park located to the southwest. At this location, approximately at this location, is the tie-in to the KB Homes subdivision. So this is existing site plan. This island is to be removed. And this is the proposed site plan. The yellow indicates the street surface. The turnaround be reconfigured to a smaller dimension, but one that would still accommodate the turnaround vehicle diameter the city engineer requires. And then the two homes would be constructed here. The retaining walls that are in place would, I believe, remain in their current location. And homes built, it looks like there may be some of the retaining walls removed. Homes would be constructed at these locations shown in the green areas. The city staff's added some conditions of approval we'll go through in a moment, including the construction of the sidewalk connection at the south side, or the west side of Lausanne. This would either be completed by the applicant or KB Homes. We're in discussions with KB Homes about making that happen, but it's been a condition of approval on this project because technically this is a street improvement, and whenever we look at subdivisions, the general plan and state law requires us to analyze new residential streets or even reconfigurations of streets as part of a new complete streets program, and providing pedestrian connections as part of that. So that's something that's yes.
When I went up there to look at the site, the two green
Yep.
properties, there's a big wall of cement that protects the land.
That's the
Are
return.
they gonna dig into that? Because the sidewalks here, there would be the house front, and then there's the walls directly.
Maybe
Right.
we could save that for
The applicant would be able to answer that, but our understanding is that that wall is largely staying in place. The home would be constructed around it or upon it, and all the setbacks are met by that. we can ask the applicant, who is here tonight and can answer any questions. So the city staff's added some conditions of approval related to the turnaround, extension of the city sidewalk, I mentioned before, movement or elimination of the existing luminaire. There's a street light in the middle of the cul-de-sac located approximately here that would need to go away or be moved to the back of the sidewalk. Movement of an existing fire hydrant at the location. Some of the infrastructure that exists needs to be moved. We're thinking the design would be better if the vehicular flow was just free flowing through the new street configuration, and that's the reason for these turnaround design requirements. The Planning Commission is taking action on not only just the site plan, or not only the site plan, but the elevations, the architectural concept for the two new houses as well. There's a design review component of this. The applicants provided architectural schematics of what these houses would look like. The architectural style similar in design to those of the existing homes that were constructed at the location, largely stucco, 3-story, or shingle roofs, and would be complementary to those houses. These different elevations for each of the homes, north lot and south lot. The city staff is recommending some design review conditions of approval, two-tone color scheme, window enhancements, door enhancements. The driveways need to be constructed from decorative pavers, trying to get to the design quality of the existing homes, essentially, is what we used as a guide for that. The project is the subdivision's exempt from CEQA, minor land divisions, as is the design review approval, new construction, conversion of small structures. City staff is recommending that the Planning Commission forward to the City Council a recommendation that it adopt the findings and from the environmental assessment and approve the minor subdivision and design review, subject to all the conditions of approval outlined in the staff report. Again, the city staff is available to answer any comments or questions the planning commissioners have, and the applicants are also present.
Thank you very much. At this point, before we open the public hearing, I'd like to advise anybody who would like to speak about this or any of the other items on the agenda tonight to fill out a speaker card, and they're located at both entrances to the council chambers. And if you would like to speak, fill that out and pass it to the front. Are there any, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing at this time. And so if there's any that pertain to this matter, if you could get them up quickly, that would be great. Okay. I guess at this point, if we do have the applicant available, we could have any questions directed to the applicant. So, oh, David, you're doing that. Okay.
Thank you. I welcome your questions, Commissioner
Yeah.
Tallarico. I also have a graphic which may be cumbersome
What's
for
your
the
name,
audience to see. David Beaumont.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, when I walked up there, I was up there 2 times. In the circles here, and you got the sidewalk, and then it goes up, and there's the big cement walls.
3 of them, actually.
Yes,
Yeah.
right, piers. Now, you're gonna have to dig in there to make the, no, how do you, what are you gonna stack them like this?
It's been designed so these houses are 2 floors above the garage. There's a garage and an entry area. The garage and entry area meets the rear, or shall we say the face of the lower wall. As you saw, those walls step up and go like this. The second floor, which is the kitchen, living, public areas of the house, are going to have a deck that's going to extend there. All of the drainage, all of the structure is designed to be integrated with the existing walls. Those walls were overbuilt, massively overbuilt at the time,
Yeah.
and they've held up fantastically through that time. So they're going to be there not structurally as a component of the house, but actually for that hillside for the whole subdivision.
Just in case we have a little shake. It happens.
Oh, yes, they say that it happens
The
once in a
only
while.
other question I have is, I may have missed it. These are single-family dwellings.
Correct.
How many bedrooms do they have?
4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, and I believe 3 on the other ones, 4 and 3.
And parking garage?
Yes, there are 3-car garages, which is unusual for Daly City. It's a wide house, it's an unusually wide one, and 2 cars parking off-site, so a grand total of 5 on the lot for each
So how
house.
many in and how many on the pad?
10 altogether, 3 in, 2 out for each one, for a grand total of 10.
10 cars.
10 cars on the 2 houses, correct, yep.
You see where I'm gonna go?
Oh,
with this?
I sure do. I'm with you right
A lot
down.
of cars, it's a beautiful area, there's not much room. I presume the owner knows this is not for storage, the garages are for cars. Do we have
Oh.
a statement in that to say this?
I could perhaps address that in that the owner, the applicant, who is an architect, resides in the adjoining home, and he was the builder of this entire subdivision. He planned this out originally, and so both parking concerns and storage concerns have been paramount to him and his family throughout the 10-year life of this project.
So we are,
Very much copacetic on that issue, yes, yeah.
now, the next question, the existing brownstone, Rod, there's 2 green and 1 brown.
Yes,
That's existing and the other one's existing.
yes.
The one that's on the right, what number is that?
I believe it's oh, I could tell you right here. That is lot number 9, if you're making reference to a lot.
Yeah, I don't know the number.
Oh, I
The
see.
reason I'm asking, that's a single-family dwelling also.
Yes.
When I went up to the area and I talked to a couple people, they said there was 4 renters in the house.
Mm.
Now, single-family dwelling, if I remember my dictionary, you don't rent to your cousins. So I need to understand, there's 4 people, and these were, they didn't know me, I didn't know them, and they said, yeah, we rent there, and there's one up there, there's one down there. All 4 areas were rented.
Yes.
So how are we gonna deal with that?
Well, the city has no restriction on who can rent a home together or, yeah, so there's,
Okay, no, I'm
That's
just
it.
trying to understand, that's all.
I could also add that there is code, Mike may correct me if I'm wrong, but I've understood that bars during the design, during the building submittal process of forms of egress that would allow a potential renter to be made, or a dwelling unit, shall we say, to be rented either as a room down, what's called room down in San Francisco. So there's already those mechanisms in place through the design review process, but granted, there's no way to actually bar somebody from living,
No, no, I'm
renting
bringing
your
this up
couch.
for my erudition, for the camera erudition, and for people, because we hear single-family dwelling, and we see 4 residents, and people get very upset. And then Michael ends up with a headache. I'm just trying to make that all we're on the same page.
Sure.
Very explicit, I'm concerned with 10 cars. I live in East Milwaukee, and you don't wanna know that.
Oh,
okay.
So, I mean,
I pity you.
is it enforceable some way? Or does the city say, okay, does the city have anything to say, if we come by and see that your garage is full of storage stuff and your car is on the street, does the city have any avenue to enforce it?
technically the city does. Parking spaces within a garage are supposed to be reserved for providing parking, not storing items. It's a matter of a uniform enforcement, however. You know, if we were to go after, you know, one person for that, and that, you know, it's sort of a can of worms in terms of us, you know.
Let me ask, I'm a citizen sees it, a citizen living on that street, after a year, 6 months, sees, okay, 10 cars out here, or 5 cars out there, and they call code enforcement and get a check on it?
Yes, through the chair. Code enforcement would enforce that, yes.
Okay, thank you.
That it, Charlie?
Thank you very much. And I do have a question as well. So there would be a total of 12 homes within the same development, basically, when this is complete?
You're referring to what the total will be after this is complete? Yes, that's true.
Is there a homeowners association, or they just exist
They-
singly?
They exist in fee simple as individual homes without an association. It's a public street, and maintenance is.
Understand,
performed by the
thank you.
city.
Commissioner, do you
No,
agree?
I am okay.
Okay, great. So we do not have any, oh. We do have a card request. Thank you, David. A request from Charlene Wright. Would you like to come up, please? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Charlene.
So,
I live at 43 Lucerne.
Ms. Wright, if you could speak into the microphone. that would be
My
great.
name is
And
Charlene.
we have a 2-minute limit on speaking, just to let you
Oh,
know.
this is gonna be brief.
Okay.
My name is Charlene, and I live at 43 Lucerne, and I have some concerns. One of them is parking. One of the neighbors does have a bed in their full bed in their garage. Okay, I don't know if somebody's sleeping down there, but if they open it up, you can see it. I'm concerned with parking because parking is horrible in that block. A lot of people live in a lot of those homes, and they have a lot of cars. I'm also concerned with the garbage that is dumped from the apartments, the mattresses, the TVs up near our block. I'm concerned with that too. I have no problem with this project if it was gated off, because it's too much garbage and I pay too much in taxes. And I'm surprised none of the other people are up here concerned about that stuff. So I'm trying to beautify my home. But when I see 4 mattresses stacked on top of each other right at the entrance, when you enter Lucerne, I'm concerned. And people dumping furniture from the apartments up there. So, I mean, those are my concerns. I mean, I don't mind him building it, but I think there should be a gate. I think there should be an association. I think people should be held accountable. And some of the neighbors, I just want to show you this one picture of how bad the parking is. I live next door to this person. They drive onto the sidewalk over to park in front of the house as you enter the stairs. You shouldn't park there. Shouldn't have to park there, but they do. So I'm concerned about that too. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. Okay,
Just a question.
thank you, sure.
Um,
Commissioner, if you'd
So
like to.
your house is before the development.
Yeah, it's 43, it's in the middle.
And what happens, you're saying, from this development, all these apartments, single-family dwellings, you gotta say, things end up at the end of the street.
They end up in the center, they end up on the sidewalk in the center across from my house. And then they end up at the corner of, across from the first house. The mattresses are there right now, 3 of them, and a bed frame.
So, if I might, so Ms. Wright, have you called code enforcement or made a complaint to the city about the stuff that's being left there? They have a great means of getting things addressed, either through the website. There's a place you can do citizen complaints, or you can just call the city and ask for code enforcement.
I don't understand why you guys can't post signs, no dumping. I don't understand
Okay.
the situation.
But there is a means in place that works really well, because we do it in our neighborhood all the time. We call when we see something, and it's gone usually very quickly.
I just think we should have a gate, and I think that would solve a lot of that,
Okay.
personally.
Okay, thank you. See, I don't think there are any other. Is Richard Vose wanted to speak on this issue as well?
Oh, no, not this issue.
Okay, okay. It says one, but I didn't know.
Just one issue, that's
Oh, okay, okay. Which issue was it? Do you know
I
which?
think Bryant.
daycare.
Oh, the daycare, okay, thank you. Okay, so that's all the requests that we have from the public. So is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And so the next is for recommendation that the Planning Commission forward to the City Council the following recommendation. Adopt the findings as outlined herein. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Yeah, second, yeah.
Okay, vote please. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. A motion to affirm the environmental assessment as stated.
So moved.
I second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then, is there a motion to approve minor subdivision SUB 4-15-10787 and design review DR 4-15-10788, subject to the findings and conditions outlined herein? Is there a motion?
So moved.
And roll call, please.
Talarico,
Yes.
Satori,
Yes.
Edelman,
Yes. Thank you very much. The next issue, or the next item on the agenda, is for a zone change, ZC 7-15-1163, use permit UPR 7-15-11164, design review DR 715-11165, and negative declaration CEQA 7-15-11166. And Tendai Mutunga, Associate Planner, will be doing this presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner. This proposal is requesting 4 entitlements: a redesignation of the parcel from residential commercial to retail office commercial, which permits the density that's being requested by the applicant. It's also requesting approval of a use permit 7-15-1164 and approval of a design review 7-15-1165 and the certification of the negative declaration of the project. The project is proposing construction of a 4-story mixed-use building on a 0.35 acre parcel. The project comprises of 27 bedroom apartment units, and apart from that, it also includes a commercial component, which is 3,675 square feet. The project proposes a height variation of 47 to 62 feet. I'll further demonstrate that on my presentation on the elevations. The project requests zone change to meet the proposed density development. Presently, the commercial, retail, residential designation limits the density to 20 dwelling units per acre and allows a maximum 1.0 floor area ratio. The proposed commercial retail office designation allows density is subject to the use permit approval and allows up to 5.0 floor area ratio. The applicant proposes 77 dwelling units per acre, and it comes up with a floor area ratio of 3.6. On June 8, the Sullivan Corridor Council Committee reviewed the preliminary version of the project, and the committee indicated support of the project proposal. However, the applicant was directed to apply for an amendment to Sullivan Corridor specific plan. This is the project vicinity map showing the exact location of the project site in reference to all the development in the area. The site location showing the project site along Bryant Street. This is the street level garage, and the red arrows are indicating traffic flow from Bryant into the parking garage. And staff has also added a condition where you see the light green shade area. There's a likelihood of an electronic gate being installed there, and the condition requires the applicant to keep the gate open within the business operating hours, because these 15 parking spaces here are primarily designed for the commercial space portion of the building. This is the basement parking, which is mainly earmarked for the residents of the complex. The second floor residential level 1 shows the courtyard area as a main feature where residents can go and relax, and it's also supported by landscaping features within it. This is the upper portion of it, of this floor area of the elevations shows Washington Street, and the lower portion shows the Bryant Street elevation. I'll discuss the features on the final slide of the presentation. This depicts the north and west elevations. This is a elongated version of our Washington Street elevation. On this two-dimensional front elevation, the building depicts or defines itself as a contemporary structure. Within it, you can see there is a distinct horizontal base which was put in place to differentiate the residential portion of the building to the commercial section of the building, which is within the lower level of the building. As you can see on the building, it catches the eye because of the design on the front, which includes massive massing. The whole idea was to make the entry point a focal point of the building so that when visitors are visiting the area, they don't have to look for the entry point. It's well pronounced. It's also supported by the warm and ethnic color scheme that reflects the contemporary design of the building. Above the fourth corner of the structure, there is a residential unit that makes that elevated area have 5 floors. And the reason for that was to mitigate the bareness of the wall of the building and create an interesting feature in the center. And also the architect and the applicant spend more time discussing with staff in terms of locating the entry point at within the intersection of the two streets, Bryant and Washington. The visual distinction at the intersection requires slightly greater building height. Again, this was done to create a good transition within the surrounding land uses, and again, to avoid looming of the bigger structure in the area, disturbing the current existing appearance of the established land uses. So this makes the building very modern and blends in with the surrounding land uses. Within it, it's supported by the pitched roof, which is an additional building height associated with the corner unit, provides a focal point. That focal point further enhances the visual prominence of the building entry point. Again, the whole idea was to make the entry point more distinct from the rest of the building. Overall, staff has included some conditions of approval. Those conditions of approval were merely meant to reinforce the architectural designs that were more desirable on the building, but otherwise staff is supportive of the design concept of the building. These are the design review analysis that I've just been explaining to you about. The project meets the open space requirements as per city zoning code. The requirement as per code is at 4,050 square feet of open space, which is based on 150 square feet per unit, and there are 27 units in the building. And the applicant is providing us with 4,310 square feet of open space. This open space is made possible by the location of the balconies on the exterior elevations of the structure. The use permit consideration This is to determine if the construction of the 4-story mixed-use building on a 0.35 acre parcel warrants a use permit. Determine consistency with the Sullivan corridor specific plan. Determine if consistency with the Sullivan corridor specific plan will be accomplished by the construction of the building. After completing an initial study checklist for the project, a negative declaration was prepared pursuant to California Environmental Quality Act, Guidelines Article 6. That being said, staff recommends that Planning Commission recommend the City Council take the following actions. Affirm the negative declaration and approve zone change 7-15-11163 and approve use permit 7-15-11164 and design review 7-15-1165, and finally approve and adopt conditions of approval and findings outlined in the staff report. That concludes my presentation. The applicant and the architect for the project are present in case you have any clarification that you may need, and staff is also here to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matuga. I actually have a question for you. You had mentioned that the open space requirement was fulfilled, including the space on the balconies as part of the 4,300 square feet. Is that counted?
As long as they are usable and accessible from, the proper residents.
I noticed that there's a center courtyard inside. Do you know about what that square footage is, or should I address that to the applicant, do you think?
It's in the staff report.
It's in the staff report. I can't
Okay,
quite remember.
okay, I missed
Yeah.
that.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner?
I would like to ask, out of 27 bedrooms, how many parking space are you going to provide to the owner of that bedroom?
The project has a discount of 20% because
No, how many parking space are you
There-
going to provide?
53.
there are 53
There
parking
are 53,
spaces.
but per bedroom, how many?
2 parking spaces per bedroom.
It cannot be. How could be? 27 plus 20, yeah.
Yeah, no, the total parking count's 53. For an apartment project that has 2 or more bedrooms per unit, we require 2 parking spaces, and then we require 1 parking space for every 300 square feet of retail. That total is taken, and then a discount is, they provide basically 80% of the parking. There's a 20% parking discount for having a mixed-use building. And that's how we arrive at the
That's good.
parking
Thank you very
requirement.
much, Mr. Chairman.
15 is going to be, 15 parking spaces are for commercial.
Well, not necessarily. If the condition of approval reads is that if the applicant's going to install a security gate, as many of these, as a matter of fact, the applicant's family built the building right at Sullivan in Washington, and that project has a gate. So if this project's to have a gate, what we've conditioned is that some of the parking spaces that are allocated for the commercial use need to remain accessible during the hours that that commercial use is open,
Yeah.
so that people can use them. Yeah, and so what we've done is tried to identify an area where that electric gate could be, and as indicated in the site plan, there's a green line that we think it possibly could be here. It might be lower. The city engineer is kind of concerned about vehicles being able to back up if they get trapped in here. So we've got to pick out that location. But this is a potential location for the gate.
Yes, sir?
They're going to enter by Bryant and come out by Washington.
No, they're going to enter and exit at Bryant.
So they're coming in and entering and exit Bryant.
That's right. There's only
No light needed or anything, or are you going to have a warning buzzer for the people walking and all that?
typically we do have those sorts of things. They come out in the plan check process if one's required. I believe that's either building or fire code.
Anything else, Commissioner? Okay.
Oh, I'm okay. I'm okay.
Okay. So at this point, we can go ahead and open the public hearing. I'd like to ask the applicant to come forward and see if there's any specific details that they can answer also if the commissioners have any further questions for the applicant. So I'm just drilling down a little bit back into the question that I asked Mr. Matunga about the open space requirement and the balconies, you know, being a part of that. I mean, this is built basically edge to edge in the lot, correct? There's no additional.
Zero lot line, correct.
There's zero lot line all the way around the building. And I noticed that adjacent the building, that there's, you know, other structures existing. Has there been consideration for shadowing on those buildings that it might take their sunlight away?
I think what we had discussed with planning was in regards, and that's in regards to the transition. So on the elevation that is on Bryant Street, yeah, and Washington Street, we took into consideration the breakup of the building, so we didn't want one just tall individual side. We wanted to break it up. So on the Bryant Street side, if you go to the Bryant Street,
You want the north elevation?
yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't really show well here. This was an initial comment, actually, but this project went to the Sullivan Corridor Committee in a different format.
Okay.
The city staff at that time was working with the architect because we also had concern about the height of some of the existing adjacent structures and how this building would interface with those. And so one of the comments by the city staff and the architects addressed it is because essentially the property line is essentially here where the arrow's shown.
Right.
And we didn't want the entire mass of the building right at that property line. And so what they've done is they've pulled back portions of the building, and that's the best way to see it is in the contrast of this building mass here.
So
The
it
bulk of the
creates
building's
some
pulled back,
pockets.
exactly.
Okay.
Also, they've added some bulk at the city staff request at the corner so that the eye sees bulk away from the smaller buildings next door. And so that's also, even though it's far away from these other buildings, it's purposeful to provide visual mass at an opposite end of the building. So we're hoping that those sorts of things do address that concern, because we also have the same concern. A similar situation exists with the existing apartment building at Washington and Sullivan. There's a much shorter residential building there, and we were trying to, you know, working with the applicant's architect with a more modern building style to address that concern. Yeah.
Well,
And on the,
I understand that, you know,
as
the-
Michael was saying,
Yeah.
it's hard to see the distinguishing elevation on Bryant Street just from this picture, but in the plans, if you guys have them on page A14, it'll give a little bit more, better,
I understand. So it creates kind of a light well.
yes, it's not,
It's
it's
kind of a
stepped
light
back, the actual mass from the upper part of the building is stepped back, so it's not just one tall side wall.
Got it. Kind of an eye towards the future.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah, sure.
Just clarify. Sir, I'm always for the smart growth or mixed use of this kind of building, and I'm for it. However, we have to consider also the so-called public safety, public health, and I would like to know if you're going to install a camera just in case those who are going in, getting out. You know, it's the modern thing now, what's happening, especially if you're constructing a new building.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It's a great question. We've been experiencing some challenges lately within Daly City, I think. So to get to your question directly, we actually are proposing to have a doorman actually located at the residence, as well as cameras. So we're gonna take both accounts for the building because there is already security concerns in the neighborhood, so.
It's good. Good.
Absolutely.
So can we put that in the condition of approval?
Oh,
Is that
yes,
the parking-
yes.
Thank you
That
very
will
much,
be,
Mr. Chairman.
That's
Yeah.
going to be part of our security measures as well as the ownership.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Sure.
And so, with the public hearing open, we do have one request to speak from Pamela Giusti. Did I pronounce your name correct?
Yes, you did.
Okay,
Sounds Italian.
definitely.
My husband's Pamela Giusti, 475 Washington Street. I live kitty corner from this project across, and I have no problem with the development of this corner. I just think it's too big. As you see, the buildings that they kind of penciled in around it are all two-story. Everything around there is two-story. I have 27 homes going in across the street from me on Edgeworth that the Planning Commission called for two-story. There's another 25-plus single-family residences going in on Annie Street. This is just out of scale with the neighborhood. It's too many units, too much traffic. If it was scaled back to 3 stories, I think it would be more appropriate. There are 4 homes next to me that are 3 stories, so you could kind of say, you know, that sets the precedent. But they even said that on the corner, it goes up to 5 stories. If you've ever seen the traffic on this street, when everybody's parked, and they are all parked on this street every day, you couldn't get in and out of this building. It's like a one-way, it's like a single lane street. Here they make it look like it's a huge thoroughfare on Bryant Street, but it's not. And the parking everywhere around here, I guarantee that 53 parking spaces are not enough. And most of the people park and leave their cars for a week until street cleaning. So it's not like they're going in and out. With all the building going across the street from me and all the building on the next block over, we're already jammed with cars, end to end, on everyone. The other thing is getting out of Bryant Street. Once those cars are parked along Washington Street, you don't have a line of sight. You practically have to get into the lane to see who's coming. And people go up and down Washington Street because it comes right off of 280. They fly down that street, and I see very little enforcement of the speed laws. There's been many accidents. I've lived there 38 years.
Okay.
I can tell you.
Thank you very much. We have no other speaker cards. If we could, either the staff or the applicant address the entry-exit concerns that Mrs. Giusti had, if they've been evaluated.
Sure. So again, the entrance and exit to the project would be solely at Bryant Street. Typically, a development of this size, the rule of thumb is that in the peak hour period, we'd have essentially one trip going in and out of this building per residential unit. That's a general rule of thumb. Actually, on apartments, it's less than that. So if we evaluate that over the course of an hour, it actually doesn't equate to a whole lot of traffic. So in terms of that, the project wasn't actually of any size that warranted a traffic study or anything of that nature, just because it's only 27 apartment units. The threshold just wasn't met for having a traffic study. But a rule of thumb, again, is one trip per unit, and that's in the peak hour. In the off-peak hours, it's less than that. So yes, so that's essentially that. There was some concern raised, and again, and this is a concern that the city staff itself had at the very conceptual levels of this project about the bulk and mass of this. Essentially, because this sort of a bulk is allowed on the east side of Bryant Street, where the CR zoning exists, and in the expansion of that to the west side of the street is something that we took a close look at. It's something that was a concern of ours, as Tendai indicated in his presentation. There were very preliminary steps or measures that were communicated to the applicant as a way of trying to break up the mass of the building. We required the best possible architecture that we could require at this location. We think the product is actually possibly one of the best looking buildings that would be constructed in Daly City. It's a very high architectural standard, and when the resubmittal came in, we were very happy with the way it was addressed. So yes, it is a larger building. That's what's around it. That's very true, but we did require a very high standard of architectural quality.
Thank you. Could I have the applicant step up once more? I have a question about the retail expectation in terms of if there's been any conversation or if you have an idea about what types of retail services would possibly be located in the ground floor of
We
the
have
building?
had initial conversations around standard retail uses, some top, I can't name names, but
understand.
top brand retail outlets, stores, coffee shops. In our building on Sullivan Street and Washington and Sullivan, there's a insurance business, so there's been discussions of office, general use office as well. We've had inquiries regarding medical uses because of the close proximity to Seton. So the general blanket right now is open and dedicated to general retail and office. What that actually turns out to be is yet to be determined, but we have some very promising prospects that we're actually in conversations right now with, but have not signed any specific lease agreements yet.
I understand.
Yeah.
You know, those sorts of things can impact traffic as well, depending what types of
Yeah.
businesses are located there. So I just wanted to
Sure.
ask
To the
that.
chair, please.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Tealdi,
Yes.
Bryant Street, at Washington, of course, we know nobody parks there. It's all restricted parking. On Bryant Street, which is your entrance, or your building site, you're gonna have downstairs commercial. People tend to park in front of the building and go in. So that's gonna make a jam up because you're gonna only allow for 15, possibly parking inside the building for the commercial. How many stores do you think there'll be on the bottom?
You know, it's a very small footprint in terms of actual commercial use and space. It's 3,600 square feet. The idea is to ideally parse them up into 3 small stores at,
Could we-
1,000, 1,200 square feet
Right,
each.
to alleviate some of the traffic on, if people park on the building, can we make some of that area white zone that they can just?
In fact, I had that discussion with planning, and I was gonna actually suggest as a discussion for the parking around Bryant and Washington. I proposed discussing, at least putting it on the table, putting green zones,
Right.
like we did for Washington and
Right.
Sullivan for
That's better.
50-minute or
encourage that,
30-minute
yeah.
parking on
And
both
then,
Bryant.
yes, I think that's very important.
Because the Bryant Street actually gets a lot of overflow from the DMV.
That's right.
And the parking, they just sit there all day.
Well, that's
so-
what the new project on Edgeworth, when I was looking at DMV, that road is their practice road.
Right, right.
So, I mean, they're gonna have problems.
Yeah.
But no, I'm just saying green or white because we have to register, because that will really jam up
Does
the.
it answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, that was actually a proposal that I thought would be a possible.
The city has a
option.
whole separate committee that
Oh,
discusses
yeah, I know.
green, red,
Outside.
white, yellow zones.
Right.
Yeah, well, we just want to make a suggestion to the
Understand.
Green
Yeah.
Committee.
Yeah,
Actually, let me comment on this because I was reading into the California planning processes wherein for every development, especially economic development, there is always some sort of adjustment. And this adjustment is sometimes, it can be parking issue, traffic issue, but eventually it will settle down. The moment order has been restored, everything will be happy on this. Because I believe that this mixed use, smart growth is really a viable one for a city like Daly City. It can generate more income or generate more of employment at the same time. It can beautify the city in the process. But we have to sacrifice really sometimes the so-called trade-offs in economic development. But in the process, will be happy on this. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Commissioner. Okay, thank you very much, sir.
okay, thank you.
So in light of this, we have no other speaker requests regarding this item, so we'll go ahead and ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then a recommendation that the Planning Commission forward to the City Council to adopt the findings as outlined herein. Do we have a motion?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then a motion to affirm the negative declaration, and is there a motion for that?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then finally, a motion
Roll
to approve the zone change ZC 7-15-11163, use permit UPR 7-15-11164, design review DR 7-15-11165, subject to the findings and conditions outlined herein, and including the suggestion from Commissioner Satori that the security is reviewed by the applicant. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Tallarico,
Yes.
Satori,
Yes.
Edelman,
Yes. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is use permit UPR 8-15-11326 and design review DR 8-15-11371. Application for a new duplex, 2 residential units in 1 building on the corner of 198 Merriam Street. And Michael Van Langhausen, the interim planning manager, is presenting this.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, members of the Planning Commission. This is an application for a use permit and design review for a duplex, as the Chair indicated, at the northwest corner of Parkview and Miriam. This is a map that shows the site location. It's located in the R1A zoning district, which allows duplexes, that being 2 residential units in 1 building, subject to use permit approval. These slides show the site in the context of the existing neighborhood. This is the site here. This is actually street view taken from Miriam Street, looking to the northeast. As indicated, there's mostly 2-story buildings. Actually, behind this, where this was taken, are some apartment buildings as well. But the adjacent residential uses are mostly 2-story buildings. So, again, we have sort of the introduction of a taller building, and we'll go through some of the staff concerns related to that, but we wanted to show some of the context of the neighborhood, to that being, you know, lower, less height buildings. So the proposal overview is 2 residential units and a 3-story building on a 3,550 square foot corner lot. The lower unit is a 5-bedroom, 3-bath unit, and the upper unit is comprised of 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. 6 parking spaces are proposed, 4 in the garage and 2 in the driveway. The architecture has been subject of discussion with the applicant. The city staff is wanting this architecture to complement the style of the smaller buildings in the neighborhood. We'll go through how that was achieved and how that's been conditioned to be achieved. This graphic shows the location of the parking spaces in the site plan. This blue area, all of the colored area, is actually the first floor, minus the driveway. The yellow and the blue are the first floor of the building. The city code requires that all of the required parking spaces be provided outside of any setback area. So all 4 parking spaces related to the duplex are located in the yellow area, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 2 spaces, these should have been numbered a little different. The 2 spaces in the driveway are just provided because they are in the setback area, but they are not part of the required parking. We do have 6 total parking spaces, though. Also in the first floor of the building are 2 of the 5 bedrooms associated with the, what we'll call the lower unit, which occupies the 1st and 2nd floors. This is the duplex 2nd floor, and so these are bedrooms 3 through 5. So this duplex is basically 2-story. And then on the 3rd floor is the upper unit. If any of that's confusing, we can go back and review. But this is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath unit. There's a balcony also associated with this upstairs unit. So the city staff has been working with the applicant to provide a design schematic and floor plan that meets his needs as well as the needs of the city staff to introduce a taller building into a neighborhood that has, quite frankly, smaller buildings. The zoning ordinance does allow a 3-story construction here. This building does comply with the zoning ordinance height maximum. The city has what are called small residential design guidelines, which require that the 3rd floor only at the front elevation be recessed a minimum of 5 feet, and the applicants provided that. Staff has, however, because this is a discretionary approval, gone somewhat beyond that requirement in terms of some of the building materials that have been submitted. We noticed that a lot of the buildings in the neighborhood incorporate a significant amount of siding, and so we've added some conditions of approval that this building receive additional siding material to try and complement that architectural style. Some of the initial designs for this building had a bit more of a less window treatment. We required some upgrades on the window treatment, being the introduction of some of the wood trim that we see on some of the older buildings, some of the division lights that are present in older buildings, things like this. So the garage door will need to comply with the sort of the carriage garage door style. So these are some of the things we've worked with or worked with the applicant on to try to get the building to provide some additional design interest. On the rear elevation, we required some additional articulation and, yeah, to try and get the building to provide some balconies or something to that extent. So again, this is a use permit. We've made a list of some of the things the Planning Commission might want to consider when deciding whether to grant the use permit. Context to existing residential uses, site characteristics, utility infrastructure capability, parking vehicle egress, as well as the furtherance of housing element objectives. Of course, this proposal does provide 2 additional units for residents and future residents to live in, which is a goal of our housing element. So we've gone through some of the parking analyses. Again, the 6 parking spaces provided. The infrastructure in the streets capable of providing both sewer and water service to the site. We've worked through some of the architectural qualities of the building to try and reduce the massive appearance of the 3-story structure in the context of shorter residential buildings. The Planning Commission should note that there are apartment buildings in short proximity distance to this building, and so the higher density sort of a use is actually already present in the neighborhood. It's unfortunate to try to should have provided a picture of some of those apartment buildings, but they do exist a very short distance to the west. So the context to the existing residential uses is that this sort of a density is present in the neighborhood, and we do feel that the duplex would fit in from a contextual perspective. We've already gone through the design review requirements. This is just a list of those. Upgraded paint scheme, additional window detail. There are some conditions on the building material, horizontal building belts, et cetera. The project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to the section on the screen. The staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt the findings from the environmental assessment and approve the use permit and design review. The applicant is present, as is the city staff, to answer any questions the planning commissioners may have.
Was there any, I noticed that there was this condition recommended by the planning department regarding landscaping, that they submit their landscaping plans prior to approval.
That's right.
And what I didn't see was, is there space at the front of the building where the setback is for landscaping, or is it all driveway? It wasn't clear.
There's a little bit of landscaping that would be proposed here. And actually, the back of the sidewalk, it's difficult to tell with all the dimension lines on the drawing, but this is the back of the sidewalk. So there'd be landscaping along in this area as well as along the entire side of what's in the right-of-way. The conditions of approval also require some minor upgrades to the parkway strip that exists in between the sidewalk and the back of the curb. This is a unique condition in this neighborhood that we have a landscape area in between the street and the sidewalk, and it's in disrepair right now, and we require the applicant to take a look in ways to try and beautify that.
Okay, that answers that question. Thank you. Are there any other questions from staff?
Yes. The 6 parking is for both units?
It's for both units.
Okay. I was there looking at, looking north, Merriam and Parkview, and I looked down, and like you say, they're all older homes, single dwelling, maybe a couple duplex, and I looked at that, the apartments on the corner of Parkview are a three-story, a little used, so to speak. My concern is it's a big, huge, it's a big building, two buildings, 3 stories, stuck in a neighborhood. And it has 5 bedrooms and 3 baths in one unit, correct?
That's correct.
3 bedrooms and 2 baths in the other unit. And the 6 spaces are gonna be enough for parking.
That's what the city code requires. This,
Okay, yeah.
the only difference between this and, well, single-family home is that there's more parking required for a duplex, 2 more parking spaces outside of the setback area, as well as the parking garage dimension is required to be wider because the persons may not know each other, and there's a thought in the zoning ordinance. So it does comply with the zoning regulations in that
Because
regard.
that area is, looking down the street, there's a lot of cars on the streets, in fact, I know some people who did call me, friends that live, and that was, of course, that long area was nice parking. Now it's not gonna be nice parking. You know, I mean, just, this happens in Daly City.
Well,
But there is a condition, or the applicant knows, and again, it's like beating the dead horse, the garage is for a garage. I mean, I hate to be repeating that, but I live in an area where it's not enforced.
well, in the case of a duplex, the parking spaces are part of the rent that would be charged. Honestly, the parking compliance on a duplex is probably greater than that of a single-family home, which could be built here. We're going to have actually more parking spaces provided here than we would have with the single-family home, which would
No,
be
I
allowed by
just
right.
Bring that up because people forget a year from now.
Sure.
I like it on the record, okay?
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Commissioner Satori, anything for the staff, or you want to wait for the applicant?
No, I just would like to piggyback on that statement of Commissioner Talarico regarding parking and garage. You know, if in Daly City, I've always heard about this parking issue and about garage parking. If only in Daly City, if all the residents will just open up their garage, there will be no problem in parking in Daly City. This is what I'm thinking about, to be straightforward about this, because being myself as an officer of the Homeowners Association, we told all those homeowners to open up their garage. Don't use this as for your all the things that you are putting up, or putting up a room in your garage. Just put it as a garage as specified in the CCR, because people will always complain here in the Daly City and say, "Oh, we have a parking issue," but look, they're the problem. They're not the solution. They're the problem, because people are trying to deviate from what is to be a parking garage. They're using it as a room, or just for all those materials they put, and then they park at the street. And they cannot find any parking space in the street. They blame the city. To me, this is unfair. That's why, if only the code enforcement will only apply the fullest force of the law, open up the garage, and the Daly City will know how. We don't have any problem about the parking issue here. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Commissioner Satori. Would the applicant be able to come to the front, please? We'll go ahead and open the public hearing.
Hi, I'm Mark Bucarelli, the architect.
Thank you. So there were some concerns basically about parking, but I think the staff has addressed them pretty well. I think the other concerns were specifically about the size of the building, which I know the department has talked with you about, you know, the architecture of the building to blend better with the neighborhood. Did you at any point, you know, meet with any of the neighbors to discuss this going up, or was there, you know, kind of a meeting of minds?
As far as I know, honestly, we have not. Yeah, we haven't reached out to them. And I know, Michael, there was another issue about doing bay windows on the rear.
That's right.
That we would do.
We've added that as a condition of approval to try and
Okay.
break up the rear elevation.
Right,
We've
kind of
provided-
blend a little nicer
Right,
too.
right.
Okay, Commissioner, do you have anything? for-
Yeah, I would like to just reinforce, I went through the neighborhood, I knocked on some doors, and I told people to come. I really did. I mean,
No,
'cause
no one came.
well, that's what my problem is, and I can tell the camera. I did ask 3 people, and I said, spread the word, because it was hard to read the paper on the pole. And all I can say is I was hoping to have more input from the people that live there.
No, we mail notice to
I know,
property
so that-
owners within 300
well,
feet of the
yeah,
boundaries of the
there's a
property.
couple of renters, and I said, well, you could still come and talk. But I'm just saying, I certify that we reach out, and I tell you.
So the only thing that I have as a question is as far as the density of 5 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms. A 5-bedroom unit is a very large unit, but 5 plus 3, and then parking for 6, I know it's within the requirements of the city, but it seems like there's a likelihood of a 5-bedroom unit having a lot of cars there. Was there a specific reason than that you could?
I think we're after the oldest thing in the book of highest and best use. So we've maximized the lot coverage and the height limit. So, creating that envelope and the material articulation, it only makes sense, I think, to do the lower floor as rear bedrooms.
Is the plan to sell this, since it's a duplex, as two separate units, or one single owner?
One owner.
One owner who would rent or live in one of them, okay. Are there any other questions?
Well, there's no requirement that an owner live in one, just,
There is a requirement.
there is not a requirement, just for
I
clarification.
didn't think there was, yeah.
Okay.
Just for my erudition, so to speak, for a building that size, what are we talking, $1.5 million? What price do we put? No, I'm looking at, well, because I'm looking at the neighborhood.
Yeah,
I'm looking at the
1.2
neighborhood.
about that.
There's, it's all, it's not proper, I remove it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. If there are no requests for public speakers, so we'll go ahead and take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Second, okay. All in favor? Aye. Is there a recommendation that Planning Commission forward this to the City Council to adopt the findings as outlined herein?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to affirm the environmental assessment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And is there a motion to approve use permit UPR 8-15-11326 and design review DR 8-15-11371, subject to the conditions of approval as stated and identified herein? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and a roll call, please.
Talarico,
Yes.
Satori,
Yes.
Edelman,
Yes. Okay, the next item on the agenda, last item on the agenda is use permit UPR 8-15-11455, application to operate a daycare center at the Golden Gate Korean Presbyterian Church located at 300 Crocker Avenue. Guido Persicone is the associate planner, contract associate planner, who is doing the presentation.
Good evening, Planning Commission. The use permit 8-15-11455 at 300 Crocker Avenue is for a 36-kid daycare facility. 24 will be infants, 12 will be, 12 will be infant, 24 will be toddlers. This is the general vicinity. It's primarily within a residential area bounded by Winchester, Hanover, and Crocker. This is the existing church as seen from Google. Primarily residential. residential, as stated earlier. This is a pretty straightforward project. It's within an existing building. They have enough parking. The staff report identifies the parking requirements. They're mandated to have a minimum of 9 spaces based on the zoning code. There are 15 inside the church, but when you put in the temporary playground that's shown, some of those are taken away, but they still have enough parking to meet the city's requirement. The playground area, which they're mandated to have by the state licensing, will be in the parking lot. There's another area along Winchester that has another play area. And the only real significant issue with having the playground in the parking lot was just ensuring the safety of the children. So we are recommending they put in these temporary bollards, which can be removed. In the event that somebody maybe is not paying attention or whatnot, you would do some pretty significant damage to your car if you were to run into this. And so a lot of these conditions really are for the safety of the children and to ensure that there's really no overlap between the church use and the daycare facility. That is condition of approval number 4. There also is a letter in your staff report detailing the exact hours for the church. Condition of approval number 6 restricts drop-off. There shall be no drop-off on the streets. Children shall be supervised at all times. And conditions of approval 9 and 12 are related to the barriers and the gates and the bollards that will be required to be installed for the safety of the children. This project is exempt from CEQA. CEQA only mandates that a city assess a project if it would have the potential for environmental impacts. Since the use is within an existing building, within a residential zone, where daycares are allowed, the potential for environmental impacts is minimal. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of the use permit to the City Council for approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Versiconi. I have a question regarding the, I know the bollards to block off the parking area, and I saw something about a temporary fence that goes in as well.
Right, so that is where, I don't have my laser pointer, but.
That's okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's where the temporary fence is gonna go.
And what type of material, how safe is a temporary fence in terms of, because I would also be concerned about the safety of the children, both from, a car or something coming into the area, as well as the children running around like little maniacs, which they tend to
Right.
do, and running out and getting hit by a car.
Yeah, so that actually, so between the church and where the playground is, the kids will have no access to the parking lot. There will be no, they will be supervised directly into the play area and directly out of the play area. In terms of the fence and gate material, this planning commission actually just approved another daycare at another Korean church, and so I would have to go back or defer to the planning manager in terms of what fence. The condition of approval from that project was kind of general, so I would have to go back and research that, but I don't know the exact type or style. So,
If there's a concern about the material of the fence, we can bolster the conditions of approval to, include, that the fence would be of a durable material, provides protection to the satisfaction of the planning division. It seems like a reasonable thing. The applicant may be able to answer the question as well about what sort of a fence they were proposing. But usually things like this are addressed in the plan check, analysis.
And I would imagine that in the plan check analysis, there would also be a safety exit should there be a fire or something
Absolutely.
like that.
The
so
fire
that they-
department would review that thoroughly, yes.
Okay.
They'll
Mr.
need to
J-
submit
Mr.
for a
Just one
TI.
question.
Yes.
How many daycare center do we have in Daly City? Would you know?
off the top top of my
A
head.
ballpark figure, like 5 or 10.
I
Oh, more than that.
full, yeah, if you exclude the residential ones, that would probably be a little easier to count, but I don't know, in the magnitude of 20
Because
maybe.
to me, I personally believe that we need more daycare center in Daly City. We need, especially this kind of arrangement, because I know this place, that's why, and the drop-off, as far as parking is concerned, there could be a drop-off point wherein you drop it 7 o'clock and then pick it up 5 o'clock, right? Those are the things that it happens. So I don't see any problem here as far as parking or traffic issue is concerned. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, a couple questions. You had 36 children, and let's see, how many babies?
I have it in the, attached to the staff report is,
She
No, no,
said
go ahead.
12 and then 24.
12 infants and 24 preschoolers.
Okay, as I'm looking at the conditions and et cetera, they're showing no drop-off on the street. They have to come in to the
Right.
area to bring the children, so that we don't get any congestion on that point. Now, you're going from 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Okay. Which means that area will have other traffic going around because of businesses and whatever. So we are pretty sure that it was not gonna back up. I'm trying to get the picture. 24 children, a mother comes in, picks up, there's 24 cars coming in, pick up, and it's not gonna jam up in the parking lot?
No, so actually preparing for this presentation, so there was actually a traffic study done
Okay,
of the Wellington residential project. So all the intersections around that area are operating at optimal
okay, just,
levels.
okay. And,
Yeah,
my next, there's a
So-
statement here. It says applicant shall post signs at the parking lot entrance warning motorists of presence of children playing in the garage.
Oh, this is,
Oh.
yeah.
I mean,
a little bit of a carryover, so.
okay, that's,
Well,
It's playing in the
we'll-
playground.
we'll
okay, yeah, no, that's all right. Well, I mean, I'm just asking.
Let's
They're playing
strike
in the
that
garage.
from
It does say
the-
that. Yeah, it does say that. So, the other one is, San Mateo has to approve childcare centers. Do they have to approve for this? In other words, the city has guidelines in that. Doesn't the county of San Mateo have to
That's
come in?
licensing.
Licensing it? Yeah.
State of California.
this-
Oh,
State licensing.
state, okay, it's not the
Yeah.
county. So that's all been taken care of?
Right.
It's licensed?
Well, it will be, if the use permit is granted, then they'd apply for
Okay.
that permit.
I didn't know.
The
what-
fire department also does
Yeah, I wasn't sure if
inspections.
the county took a piece of that action, then the state, and
Yeah,
everybody
so
else.
the state licensing is.
And that
the-
handles the whole
They
thing.
handle the licensing.
And-
They won't authorize the license until we give our approval.
Good.
Fire plays a dual role in that they serve our review, but they also serve the review for the state
Okay, then-
licensing.
One last
So-
question is the church running the daycare, or they have other professionals come in to run it?
No, we have an applicant here today. The title of the facility is Mi Casa,
En mi casa, su casa.
right?
Yeah,
So they're
we'll
the
be
ones
open-
actually running. They're
Okay, all right,
they're
thank you.
renting from the church, so.
Okay, then we'll have a big chance to talk to them. All right, thank you.
Great. So we'll go ahead and open the public hearing and first ask the applicant to step forward to answer any questions, please. And then we will have a couple of speakers who have requested to speak, so following the applicant.
Hello, my name is Miguel Tejada.
I'm Graciela Tejada, and we're the one who planning to open the childcare on 300 Crocker.
Oh, okay.
We're very excited.
Thank you. So you've heard, that there's some concerns about safety, in which I'm sure have you been in the childcare business before?
I actually, we own a family childcare in San Mateo.
Uh-huh.
I used to work in childcare center for the past 20 years. But I've been running my family childcare, large care in San Mateo. And my goal and my dream was to run a center. So it's been in my applications all along, so now I'm excited.
Sure.
Yes. So we do own a childcare center right now.
Currently, okay.
Family childcare.
So it's not new to you?
No, we've been for 9 years managing it.
Okay.
Good.
One of the questions that I had was about the fence for the parking lot that's going to be separated. Do you know what type of material is proposed for that?
We've been talking with the architect about it, and we're open to whatever the city require to go for. So, I mean, we're willing to work,
Okay.
because, I mean, this is also something new for us. So, but we have an architect working on all this drawing and the safety of, and the regulation of the city as well.
I wanted to add that I'm really 100% aware of the safety. So, not just for the children, but for the parents to feel, secure, and for ourselves as well. So we'll do whatever it takes to make sure that.
Okay, and I also remember reading in the report about some sort of a covering that goes over the parking lot, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes, we're gonna put a soft covering, right? Soft,
Like a padding?
Hard
Like a
rubber,
padding,
hard rubber.
that's right.
Right.
So
Okay.
They can be
something.
removing.
And the other question, I guess the last question that I had was, so when it rains, that's an outside play area, is that going to be closed when it rains, or is that still going to be open? And is there any plans for that?
It is probably gonna.
So hopefully this year it will rain.
Boo.
Right?
It's probably gonna be closed, but as soon as it stops raining, it is, as a teacher, it's very hard to get kids inside. So if, I went to San Francisco State last year, and the teacher said, even if it's sprinkling, take the children. It's a very good experience for science right there. So I will, if it's drizzling a little bit, I may take a couple or whatever, because it gets kind of crazy when it's raining.
Well, and that also applies to the covering, because you don't want something that's slippery.
Lips too,
Right.
that's right. We'll be fully aware of that. We'll make sure that, if it's that pattern, we probably won't come out then.
Okay, so possibly when the staff includes the conditions of approval, it would review the materials used for the padding as well as the fence.
Sure.
At that point. Okay. Commissioners, any other questions? For the
Oh, no,
applicant?
you said you had a similar unit in San Mateo County?
Not similar, it's my home.
Okay.
At large capacity, but I've been, I was a teacher, head teacher for infant toddler center in San Mateo at a church.
Okay.
So I'm fully aware of, what guidelines to kind of follow.
Was this going to be a bigger, these are more children than you had before?
Than that I have right now, yes, it will be more.
Okay,
Yeah,
and And I presume all your teachers are certified and all
exactly,
the
we'll
regulations
follow.
licensed?
Yes, sorry to cut you off. I will follow license and regulations because I'm fully aware of that. We work along with them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, as a grandfather, I have a small one. And I know you have the so-called indoor activities and outdoor activities. Outdoor activities when they go to the playground. Now, how about indoor activities? What do you do as to the child?
We're gonna have a planned curriculum for the children, dependent at the age level. And so it will be planned out by us, the teachers, and so we'll follow a schedule, our routines that will be throughout the day. So it's not that children will be running around, they'll have something to follow throughout the day, in and out.
So the concern here of my colleague is that if it is raining, there is still activities inside, right?
Yes.
Okay.
There will be plenty, yes. Believe me, I've been 20 years, I'm a San Francisco State graduate, so I know what to do with the children. Yeah, and I'll be managing as well. So
How about the food that you serve?
it will be a well-balanced meals, breakfast and snacks and lunches and, a good, well-balanced snack in the afternoon.
Very
There's
good,
also
yeah.
an option for us, I'm saying us because we're working on this together. Either we provide the food or the parents will bring their food as well.
One more question. Now, I don't know if this is off base, so you can tell me. Are you, again, this is just Michael's laughing. Are you going to try to provide some assistance to low and middle income people that need childcare? Because, I know you're in for business, too, that's a but are you planning to offer some area for lower income?
Indeed, we are. Right now, I'm a member of the 4Cs, Child Care Coordinating Council San Mateo, and I really encourage, I used to work for a nonprofit, so I know how that feels. I was, a low-income parent back then. My children are all grown up, but I understand the need for low, and I'm aware that I will be working along with communities,
Thank you.
agencies.
I
Definitely.
think that's very important. as
Yes,
much as
it
you
is.
can.
Sure.
That's good.
Okay. Well,
Very good.
thank you very
Thanks
much.
so
We'll go
much.
ahead
Thank you.
and ask the speakers who filled out cards to come up, and I also wanted just to acknowledge that we did receive several letters from people with both concerns and a commendation regarding the daycare center. So first, we'll call up Angel Berto Gonzalez. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name.
It's okay, I have trouble pronouncing myself. So,
A lot of syllables.
yeah, it's all right. Actually, I'm glad I was here early. You mentioned code enforcement. So is the city responsible for those, if there's any worries on that issue, once it's operating?
Yes.
So we would call the city and say, code enforcement, we have a problem with the daycare. Okay.
Report.
I live right across the street. If you don't mind, could you bring up one of the diagrams? The other one, actually the black and white one that shows the map, where it shows well, it's the one, maybe the next one. There you go, right there. So, just for sake of looking at that, the church is on the second floor. There's a basement that has a banquet hall, I guess, or a party hall.
Right.
On that entrance on the party hall on the Winchester Street, I live right across from there.
Okay.
So every once in a while, I have to call the church if they got the light going or something, or the problem, or there's noise. This is gonna operate from 7 AM to 6 PM, Monday through Friday?
That's what yes, that's.
Okay, and then, you said parking's a concern, you think there's more than enough parking. How many adults are gonna work there? Because 36 kids, it's gonna be a minimal staffing, they're gonna have to park there, because there's no parking like everyone says in all the neighborhoods, there's no extra parking. So they're gonna be using, the adults that work, they're gonna be using the spots. That's fine, as long as they've addressed that. The church is there, they have an educational center in the back, and then, I only got 2 minutes, so I just wanted 30 more seconds, I got a lot of questions. So there's an educational center in the church that they built, so that's not just a church, it's an educational center, or school, or whatever you call it. So there's a party hall on the bottom, the church, the education center, that's fine. They're not bad neighbors, I've been there 20 years, and just every once in a while something happens, so I call the church. But if there's code enforcement, great. State licensing, great. They run a business in San Mateo, great. Their hours, it's traffic, we'll go deal with it. There's no stop sign coming down Crocker. That's always been a concern. Every 4 or 5 months, there's an accident. Somebody smashes into each other. No one gets hurt, the cops don't come. So you guys may not know about it, but there's always accidents there. I'm worried about that. And I ran out of time.
If you have something
Go ahead.
small, please.
Okay, just that, it's just, like I said, there's a lot of use in the building, great, they extended the building, that's fine. How many adults are gonna be working there and parking there? That's a parking worry, that's fine, so they can park. Street cleaning there, we know the enforcement rules, and so we follow, everyone's very nice about that, as far as the city enforcement, so that we can make sure there's no cars in the street, so there's street cleaning. And when they're gone, and we know the enforcement's fine, we know how to move our cars around, but that all happens like clockwork. So there's no empty spaces in there. I can attest for that, I've been there 20 years. So just making sure they have enough parking for their adults that work there. There's no drop off in the streets, that's a great relief that I saw that. Because I was really worried about that, especially with no parking, no stop sign coming down the hill. Not that they're going 60, but they are going 40, maybe in a 25 zone. They built the 2 new houses right across from the church on Crocker there. Someone built them there, rented them out. They're 5-bedroom, I think, homes in each one. 4 bedroom? Okay, so here you go. So he knows. So it's busy, and that's great. They got parking, and they use their parking garage and a gym, and anyway.
Great.
But I know about code enforcement, which helps me a lot. Just want to make sure you guys address that I'm worried about the parking spot. I mean, the parking, the hours that they operate, and that stop sign, because those are accidents in wintertime when the sun's in a bad spot. It's hard to see around the corner. You go onto the intersection, that's when people come crash into each other.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Gonzalez.
So, I'll just leave that to you guys.
Okay.
I know it's late, I want everyone else to get a chance, and those are my concerns.
Great, thank you. We also have a request from Richard Vose on Crocker Avenue.
Yes, right across the street.
Okay.
Been there since '53 with my parents, myself since '78. The concern is traffic. At that time of the morning, they're coming down continually from the top of the hill, from the condominiums.
On Crocker?
On Crocker. That's the main thoroughfare, Crocker to Mission, San Jose to the freeway. That's the run, okay? And now also too, we have 52 new homes are going up on the hill, okay? That's whether they're gonna go down the other road, if that gets built, fine. If they, you know, but the percentage is gonna be down Peoria, so that's more traffic. The other concern which nobody has addressed, it's a fairly quiet neighborhood now, it's all elderly couples, child screaming and yelling. How many hours a day are they gonna be outside in the playground yelling and screaming? Because teachers can't control that. That's impossible. Let's see, children.
Don't you like the voices of the little girls? They're like angels to me.
Yeah, to you, yes, to me, no.
The angelic
But like I
voices.
said, no, the one concern, what they might do is, you can put the picture up where it shows, if you would, the playground.
Which one, Richard?
Yeah, the playground part. Yeah, right there, cover it. Cover it. Have it so it's like for inclement area, for thing, just have it covered. You could have it where you could have it, it could still be open, but still have it covered so the children could still, see what I mean? There's ways to do that, to keep that dry, for the children could be out there.
Gotcha.
Okay. But like I said, my main thing is traffic, and then, like I say, the deal about where the entrance is gonna be there to go downstairs, it would be like you had to prohibit that drop-off. Okay, that's definitely has to not happen, because he knows you're gonna be double parking there, because that's gonna be the easiest way to do it.
Got it.
To come in there and say, oh, drop my kid, oh, run out, and then down because you got the stop sign there, and then away. Instead of having to go into the parking lot, because this is what have to happen, they'll have to go into the parking lot, drop off the child, come back out, and here comes the traffic down. It won't be so bad at night,
Right.
because there's a little less traffic, but in the morning, forget it, it's continual. In fact, we even have, sometimes we have police up there, because they'll run it, that stop sign to go.
Got it. Thank you very much, Mr. Vos.
Just one other thing, how do I go about to getting a street one way? To cut the traffic in half?
That's really outside of our, something that we can do something about, but what I would do is contact the city traffic department. They
traffic.
have a specific traffic department,
Okay.
and tell them your concerns, and they can take a look at it and see if it's worth a review.
Yeah, because it would definitely be a good idea, you know, could just cut it in half. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes,
think
sir.
the problem there is not about the traffic itself, but it's a matter of traffic management. I believe that, I always see that there's some issues there, especially those coming from the top, going too fast. It's either, I don't know, these are the traffic engineers who can really guide us in there. So, especially if there's some children there, it should be, there's some should be issues, changes to be made in that area.
Just one other thing about the parking in the area. Is you have your parents, okay, then you have the children, right? Okay, each parent has a car. Okay, here comes the kids, here comes 2 more cars. So now you got 4 cars in a single-family dwelling.
No, it's a
Times-
drop-off point only, sir.
I understand,
Okay.
and the applicant has talked to the planning department about the drop-offs and the pickups and what the volume of traffic will be, and so that's been discussed also, since it's an existing building, and this is just a change of use within an existing building, so the amount that we can actually do something about here tonight
Right.
is limited.
Right. Yeah, because see, before the church, I mean, before they remodeled it, it was a lot. That was a sand lot. It was a good thing that they did that. That, you know, that was definitely a plus.
Got it.
That definitely helped. But when they did that, you lost 2 spots for parking. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr.
Through the
Rose.
chair, just,
Yes, sir.
that's already discussed, that the drop-off is not gonna be on the street.
Yes.
It's a condition of approval.
But that doesn't mean they're not gonna do it.
Okay, no, I mean, no, I'm following you, I'm just trying to clarify for me. And there was no traffic study done?
No.
Just- Okay.
Wasn't.
There's not one
And is
warranty.
there gonna be sign saying kids there or something?
There's a sign.
It says right.
Yeah.
So we've got that all covered.
Right.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
that's right. Matter of traffic engineering at our purview.
Through the chair to the two members of the public, there's two layers of potential oversight. Code enforcement, which Angel was concerned and would contact. But since this is a planning project and there are conditions of approval being placed on the project, the planning department would also have continuous oversight along with the planning commission. The planning commission and the city council maintain continuous oversight of all use permits. So this is not something that ends tonight with you as the neighbors. You have the applicant here, you have the church across the street, but you also have staff as your resource. So
What is the cross street of the Crocker? It's Brunswick?
Brunswick and Crocker.
Oh, Broadway, okay.
Down the block.
Because if you're going to ask the traffic expert here, the only solution I can see is put a stop sign.
Oh, no, it's not there. The problem is up on the top. They're just running right through. You put a stop sign there, it's gonna back it up even more, because you stop.
That's what I'm saying.
You stop them and the people from the church can't get out. 'Cause that's my problem with my parents' house. The one car comes down, here comes another one, so you can't get out. You got 8, 10 in a
Okay.
time.
I understand that there's concerns with traffic in the area. Really, the proper way to address it is with the traffic division as well as with the police department. We'll look into it if you bring up comments. They look at the amount of accidents within the area as well as the number of complaints within an area. So the more vocal you are to both the traffic department and the police department will probably yield the best result with that, because it sounds like it's an overlying neighborhood problem and not just this particular establishment. So, but thank you very much for bringing that up. I do appreciate it. It puts it on public record, which is also something that is important. But tonight, we're working on specifically this application for a use permit for the daycare facility. That being said, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Yeah.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is there a recommendation that the planning commission forward this to the city with their recommendations to adopt the findings as outlined herein?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And a motion to affirm the environmental assessment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then is there a motion to approve use permit UPR 8-15-11455, subject to the conditions as specified and approval as outlined herein?
So move.
May we have a roll call, please?
Talarico.
Yes.
Satori.
Yes.
Edelman.
Yes. So thank you, everybody. Are there any staff communications or public appearances this evening? Other than our wonderful public that came tonight, I appreciate that. Any acquisitions, vacations? Or I think as
Mr. Chairman, can I
Yes,
say
sir.
something?
Yes, absolutely.
I would like to invite all people out there to join us on Saturday, the Filipino Heritage Month at Dolchers. So, thank you very much.
And as the great Groucho Marx used to say, any rags, any bones, any bottles today. So, are we adjourned?
So move.